guys, and welcome to another episode of Tony's Tactics, a channel for the what, how, and why of horsemanship. Today we're going to be talking about how to put on and take off blankets, a number of different ways. So to do this, you're only going to need two things. One, a properly fitting blanket with functional straps so that it doesn't just fall off your horse in the middle of the night, and a horse. So the safest place to blanket is in the cross ties, but because I know these horses well and we unblanket them in their stalls all the time, I'm going to show you how to do it in the stall safely. But for newer blanketers who are just learning how to do this, always start in the cross ties and have someone watch you and hold your horse for you. The first part of blanketing is locating the front and the back of the blanket. The front part is going to have this handy dandy cutout for the head, and it's always pretty easy to identify because most blankets have this fuzzy part that goes over the withers to prevent rubs. So once you find the front and make sure that the straps in the front are undone, find the back of the blanket and fold it over. So that way you have the front of the blanket and the back of the blanket folded in half just like this, which will make it a lot less scary for you to throw over your horse. Hi. Someone's very curious. So, you've located the front. Very nicely and gently throw on that half-folded blanket over. And make sure you get all of the straps all the way on the other side and not caught under the blanket. So you always want to make sure that the front of your blanket, when you put it on, is on the withers or in front of them. You can always pull a blanket back if you end up putting it on too far forward, but you can't pull it forward. If you put your blanket on too far back, take it off and start over. So you've got it on, then just very nicely unfold until it sits nicely. So then you're going to do your front straps. Some have buckles, some are really fancy and have these clips. If there's a little Velcro patch, do the Velcro, and then stick these clips on. You always want to fasten a blanket front to back, because if the blanket is just around his front and he decides to spook or run away, he can really easily slip his head out of it or just tear the blanket up. So it won't get caught on his legs or body. If it's only strapped around the belly, or even worse, just around the back legs, it could really easily get caught, get tangled, get caught on something else, which could be super dangerous if he's running around loose with half a blanket on. So, having said that, after we do the front straps, we're going to do our belly straps. So these always cross under. So you're going to do the strap in the back, strapping to this hook in the front, and that hook in the front, strapping to the hook in the back. So, now that those are on and secure, we can pull the blanket back just a little bit to make sure it fits snugly against their chest. Then, the last part is we do our leg straps. So I like to grab both leg straps at once, twist them twice, and then come around the back. Flip them to these little hooks. And they'll be in different places on different blankets. You might have to kind of search for them. And it's good to note that not all blankets have leg straps, but enough do that you always want to check. So the reason I twist the blanket straps twice instead of just once is because that means that this strap is actually holding this strap away from the leg. If I don't twist them or only twist them once, the straps can rub on their legs or get caught, which is a lot less comfortable. Whereas if you twist them twice, they hold each other away, which in addition to preventing rubs, also keeps the blanket from slipping. And then just do a quick once over. Make sure it's not too tight in the front, but it's snug, that it's not too far forward or too far back. Make sure your belly straps are nice and snug and that your leg straps aren't rubbing. And that's how you put on a blanket. So now that we put our blanket on, we have to take it off. So we put on our blanket from front to back, right? So we're gonna take it off exactly the opposite. You're gonna start in the back with your leg straps. Make sure you unhook and unhook. And some blankets will have a tail cord, so just make sure that there aren't any straps or anything caught on the tail. You're gonna go to your belly straps, back to front, And then finally your shoulder straps. And I always like to adjust shoulder straps where I'm facing towards the tail of the horse and I've got my shoulder under his neck so I can keep his head from interfering with any of this. And then undo your straps and make sure that you undo any Velcro that might be in front. So now that all of your straps are undone, you're gonna just grab the withers and pull the blanket all the way back off of the horse. You don't really want to pull it sideways because you could rub the hair in the wrong direction, and you never ever want to pull a blanket forward. Okay, so now that your blanket is off, you're one more time going to locate the front of the blanket and the back of the blanket. Once you've done that, make sure you're holding right in the middle. A lot of blankets will have a nice seam. This one does, but some don't, so you got to kind of approximate and make sure that you're holding the blanket about even on both sides. So once you've done that, give it a good shake to get off any loose hair or shavings or just stuff you don't want on the blanket. And then this is the kind of tricky part. So I'm going to show you front ways and then I'll show you sideways. So you're going to hold the blanket up, you're going to lift up your knee, and it'll about fold the blanket in half, and then you throw it over so this middle seam fits on the edge. Then once it's over your knee, stick an arm under and pull it up, and you have a nice halfway folded blanket. So I'm going to show you guys that again from a different angle. So front and back, make shape, stick up your knee till it about half folds the blanket, throw the middle seam over so the bottom of the blanket, the bottom edge, and the middle seam go together, and then stick your arm in so it's nice and folded like this. So once it's nice and folded, you're going to have to hang it up. So you want to hang up your blankets going back over the front because that makes them a lot nicer. If you hang it over this way, you have this round part, you have some straps sticking out, and it just doesn't look as good and polished as it could. So move the blanket out of the way, lift up over the back, and just nicely lay it over the front. And you can kind of arrange it so nothing's sticking out. And then make sure that there aren't any straps dangling, laying on the floor. That's a really easy way for things to get wet and gross or eaten by rodents. So if there are straps hanging, you've just created a nice little pouch so you can stick any straps in there. Okay, so now that we know how to put a blanket on the proper way, which is undoing all the straps and redoing them when we put them on, I can show you guys the more efficient way. So while undoing and redoing all the straps is a lot safer and ensures that your blankets will fit your horse every time, it isn't all that efficient. So because I often have 30 plus horses to do in a very short period of time, I prefer to leave the straps in the front closed and just take the blanket on over their head. So it's very important that you only do this with horses you know and with horses that you know will be okay with it. Make sure you either, one, know your horse, or ask someone if they're okay with putting the blanket on over their head or taking it off over their head. So we're going to demonstrate on Mr. Keto. So once again, find the front, find the back, and make sure that the front straps are closed and through the keepers. You always want all of your blanket straps to be through the keepers. That way your horse can't chew on them. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Mr. Chewer. And pull them out and then pull the blanket off of themselves, which someone likes to do. So this is the kind of tricky part. So you have your hole, your withers. I like to stick my whole arm through the blanket and put this little withers fuzzy on my shoulder. That way I have this whole thing to keep it off of his ears as I lift it over his head. My other arm is going to go about where the straps are. That way I can keep a nice open hole. Okay, I'm going to scoot Mr. Keto back. Tell him, hey, I'm putting the blanket on. And then very carefully just slide it over his head. So once you've done that, make sure that this edge isn't folded over and that none of the straps are caught under the blanket as you very carefully throw the whole thing over and lodge it. Since the front straps are already done, you can pull it back a little bit to make sure that it's snug. So then same thing as you're putting on your regular blanket. You're just going to do your belly straps. And then your leg straps. Make sure your leg straps get twisted twice. And then strapped on to the blanket. And always make sure you pull the tail through just so they're nice and comfortable. Okay, and that's how you put a blanket on over the head. So as I've said before, there are a number of different ways to put on and take off blankets. The safest one, like I said, is to undo all the straps and just pull it off. For efficiency's sake, I like to just leave the front straps done and pull it off over their head. So I'll demonstrate the safe way to do that right now. So as I've said before, you always take off your blankets back to front, and don't stand directly behind your horse. Stand at a safe angle. So you're gonna undo your leg straps very nicely and carefully so they don't bang on his legs. Then go to your belly straps, back to front. But instead of then doing the chest straps, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the back of the blanket and fold it up to the withers, just like when I put the blanket on. Then I'm gonna fold it again over so I just have a very nice little pouch of blanket to pull over his head. I'm gonna ask Mr. Keto to back up a little bit so I don't get it caught in his feeder. Thank you. And then make sure he's paying attention to what you're doing so you don't spook him. And just very carefully lift it off over his head, and always lift it up as you're going over their ears to make sure it doesn't get caught. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys learned a lot about how to put on and take off blankets safely. Comment below if you have any questions or if you have any ideas for videos that you want to see. Let me know. Thanks for watching, and remember to always ask why. Bye for now. Goody, goody, goody. Goody, your booty.